Get your stuff packed, Cass. I'm sending you to Jerusalem.
Drew, I'm on leave.
I'm sorry, son, really I am. But this stuff is dynamite.
Okay, what's the story?
Davidson.
What about him?
They executed him Friday afternoon.
Did they now? What do you want me to do? Leah Reed.
Stuff the flowers, Cass. A good square meal, more like.
Sorry, Drew. Bad line. I thought I heard you say he was dead.
Dead and buried.
And now he's hungry.
I know. It don't make sense. But words come down from Nickie Kappa, and she's nobody's fault.
What did she say, Drew?
Well, let's have a look. Joshua Davidson, executed for treason Friday, reported seen in city early this morning following small earthquake, 0400 hours. Several members Jewish Army Guard detail in close arrest. Pending inquiry suggests immediate investigation.
Who was or is Joshua Davidson?
That's a great question, Cass. But you'll have to go to Jerusalem to find the answer. All we know is he was a small town craftsman, plumber, joiner, something like that. Got himself tangled up in a bit of politics, know what I mean?
Oh, one of those.
Exactly, one of those. And with the current state of things in the Middle East, this story could snowball in the next 24 hours. We're going to scoop it if it kills you. Take that research assistant. What's her name?
Which one?
You know, the one who helped you out last year with your little programme investigating Sir Janus and his sordid conspiracy with Caesar's daughter-in-law. Juicy stuff it was too, my son.
Rosa, good investigator. Happy to have her help in this assignment.
Yeah, of course you are. We both know she's the real reason for your success with the Sir Janus story. Easy on the eye too, am I right? Am I right? Of course I'm right. You should put her in front of the camera.
Alright, Drew, I'll see how she feels about that.
That wasn't a suggestion. Anything else you need? Ask Nickie.
Yeah, just a minute. Okay, you ready? Okay. Jerusalem today is a city of rumour and unrest. Along these streets, just over a week ago, Joshua Davidson made his triumphal entry into the city. If his aim was to seize control of the government, it is baffling why he then held back, as nothing could have stopped him. But he slid out of the city and disappeared. The moment of opportunity was lost. On Thursday evening, he was arrested and betrayed to the Sanhedrin, it is believed, by one of his closest friends. While troops moved into key points in the city, the Sanhedrin sat through the night and on Friday presented their verdict to the Governor-General, who signed the necessary order, and Davidson was executed at noon that same day. But early yesterday morning, something happened at the tomb of Joshua Davidson. What it was has been difficult to determine, but the immediate outcome has been a widespread and persistent rumour that the dead man somehow is alive again. As of yet, no official statement has been made, and all attention is now focused on the Governor-General in the light of this new crisis. Right, cut. Okay, Rosa, that's my first draft for the two-camera piece. What did you think?
Oh, sorry, Cass, I wasn't watching. I'm trying to track down a contact number for this local politician you wanted to interview.
Okay. Elsa?
Oh, the great Cass Tennel wants the opinion of the humble camera operator. I am honoured.
Is sarcasm a prerequisite for camera operators?
Sarcasm is my speciality. Anyway, it wasn't bad. For a first draft.
Not bad indeed, but as your editor, I don't accept first drafts.
Nickie, I didn't know you were in Jerusalem.
Yay! Miss Camper's here. What joy.
Always a pleasure to see you too, Cass.
So, which lured you away from the centre of the known universe?
Oh, you know, I heard the spring fashion show in Judea beats anything that Rome has to offer at this time of year. And our editor insists I come in and try and pull a few strings for you.
What kind of string?
The governor kind.
Oh, you were trying to secure us an interview with Pontius Pilate?
No, I have secured you an interview.
That's fantastic. I was having problems getting past his secretary.
It's one of the few advantages of being regional chief. I can bypass secretaries.
Well, I'll arrange transport to Caesarea.
No need. He's here in Jerusalem.
An interview with Pilate? That's quite a scoop. I thought he'd be strictly no comment on this politically sensitive matter.
Oh, he is. He is indeed. I doubt if even you will be able to get anything out of him.
And why agree to the interview?
You know Pilate. He always likes to do the right thing.
More like wants to keep his job by keeping Caesar happy.
Or wants to keep his head by keeping Caesar happy.
At least he always turns on a well-polished performance. Shoots straight from the hip. And of course he looks the part. It's only afterwards, when you stop and think about it, that you realise he said nothing at all.
Consummate career politician.
Try to leave your cynicism in the office.
Sure thing, boss.
Born ready.
His Excellency is on his way down. You must appreciate that he likes to keep things informal, within limits, naturally.
Naturally.
You are, I hope, planning on keeping him behind the desk? He likes to have an authoritative look on camera.
Oh, don't worry, I'll edit the authoritative looking later.
His Excellency has a very busy schedule, so please, keep it brief.
Thank you, Marjorie. That will be all. She's an excellent secretary. She's very protective of my schedule.
Governor Pilate, thank you for taking the time to see us.
Oh, that's all, my boy. Always a pleasure to find time for the Roman press. The media here in Judea is so parochial. But your reputation precedes you, Mr. Tennel.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to meet you too, Miss.
And your reputation precedes you too, Governor.
Shall we get down to business?
Governor Pilate, would you care to make a comment on this new crisis?
Certainly, Mr. Tennel. Cass. But of course, it's not a crisis, you know, it's nothing like one. Everything is under control. There's absolutely no cause for alarm. None whatever.
Well, that's good to know. But there is this rumour about Joshua Davidson.
Davidson? Davidson is dead, Cass. He's dead and he's buried. I can see no point in discussing him now.
Well, the rumour is that he's alive again.
Alive again? Oh, come now. Surely a serious journalist like yourself can't take such superstitious nonsense seriously. Alive again.
Well, still alive then, if you prefer it that way.
I prefer it neither way. Davidson was executed on my orders past Friday by the soldiers of the 10th Legion. The 10th Legion are not amateurs. You must understand, they are some of the most efficient troops in the entire Roman army. When I order them to kill a man, he is dead. And Cass, he stays dead.
Well, I don't think we're worried about the 10th Legion, Governor. But these rumours, can you afford to simply ignore them?
This is Jerusalem, dear chap. Rumour is meat and drink to them here in the Middle East. We're right in the middle of a great religious fest. And the Jews, well, they're very emotional people. Like yourself. Of course there will be rumours, and very splendid some of them are too. But when you've lived here as long as I have, you'll begin to know just what to make about market gospel.
Of course, Governor. What is your view then of the incident at the tomb this morning?
I'm afraid I don't quite follow you.
No, I mean the earthquake and so on.
Oh, but yes, the earthquake. Yes, I believe Marjorie did mention to me that there had been a slight tremor just before dawn. It is a season for them, of course. There's nothing remarkable.
They say it was quite a big one.
Indeed. Can't say I noticed it myself.
Sleeping the sleep of the just, I'm sure.
Sleeping? Sorry, is that going to be part of the interview?
Oh, Rosa sometimes interjects if she considers something relevant. If it's a good point, I can do a voiceover edit later.
Don't worry, we'll edit that one out, okay?
You may not have noticed the earthquake, but it was big enough to break open the tomb, I understand.
Oh, really? Oh, how very unpleasant.
What significance do you attach to the behaviour of the guards?
What significance? It was very unfortunate. Well, not our boys, of course. They're Jewish temple guards. They're good lads, all of them, but a little inexperienced.
They panicked.
Oh, panic's a strong word, Cass. It's too strong, I think. They were a little confused.
Tell me, why was it necessary to maintain a guard over the tomb of a dead man?
Yes. That's a good question. I wondered if you were going to ask me that question.
And the answer?
The answer? Well, Cass, I'm afraid it's rather complicated. It's a matter very largely of religion.
Oh?
Jewish religion. Oh, it means a great deal to them, you know.
Yes, but how does religion come into it? We were led to believe Joshua Davidson was a political prisoner executed for high treason.
Mm-hmm. Quite so, quite so. He claimed to be the king of the Jews. It's a serious mistake. Constituted a direct threat to the security of state. I tried to help him as much as I could. I bent over backwards, in fact, to give the man a chance to clear himself, but it was no use. In the end, he claimed to be their king, and there was no getting around it. In the end, I had no choice. I had to sign for the order for his execution.
And the religious angle, sir?
Ah, yes. He was somewhat overzealous with that, I'm afraid. It made the whole affair rather delicate.
In what way?
Well, he claimed to be their king. Mm-hmm. He also claimed to be their god.
Really?
Yes. Very embarrassing for everyone concerned, especially His Grace the High Priest.
Lord Caiaphas?
Oh yes, very distasteful for him, you will appreciate.
You say he claimed to be one of their gods?
They only have one of them, Cass.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, of course, the guard.
I'm sorry, I'm still not with you. Why hence the guard?
Well, the High Priest was very insistent. You see, Cass, when you kill a man, that's one thing. Killing God, well, that's something else entirely different. You must take precautions if you kill God. Well, you have no guarantee he's going to stay dead, do you? Of course, you must guard the tomb.
And snap down on rumours of a resurrection.
Exactly.
Just one or two personal questions, if I may, Your Excellency. What did you think of Joshua Davidson?
I felt sorry for him. It's good material, but unbalanced.
Do you think he was insane?
No, I wouldn't say that. But there was something strange, sort of fatalism, a remoteness.
Deathless, perhaps?
It could be that. It could be. He made no attempt to defend himself, you see. I tried to get him to see the seriousness of the situation. He just stood there. He stood and stared right at me and said absolutely nothing.
Could he have just been afraid?
No, he wasn't afraid. It would have been much easier if he had been afraid. It would have been more normal anyway. Mm-hmm. I tried to get him to see just how much he was entirely in my power, under my control. Cass, I had only to speak the word and the man was a dead man. It was difficult for me, Cass. I tried to help him as much as I could. I did absolutely everything I could for him. It is no easy thing to lead a man to his death.
But necessary. Sometimes.
Sometimes. security, the good of the state, must come first.
I appreciate that, Governor. I think we all do.
I hope so. I hope everybody appreciates just how difficult a situation it was. Firm action was needed to save trouble, even now.
Well, it's good to know that we have men of principle who are not afraid to do their duty, however unpleasant.
Thank you, Cass.
So everything is back to normal then?
Oh, yes. Yes, I think we can safely say that.
And yet this rumour persists.
Rumours are not important, only facts. And the fact is that Davidson is dead.
So we've heard the last of him then?
I'm sure we have.
Thank you, Governor. You have been most helpful.
Thank you, Cass.
Thank you.
Miss? Excuse me. An important matter has arisen.
What a douche. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could spit him.
Something's got him rattled though.
I wonder what it was.
Would have liked to have met this Davidson, any enemy of pilots, as a friend of mine.
Me too. Pity it's too late.
Yes. Pretty.
When they hang the Cass, make sure it's in Jerusalem. We don't have tombs like this for criminals in Rome.
I'll ask if they're taking any offers for this one. Second-hand tombs are hard to come by.
So here are some of the things I think we ought to be investigating further.
Yes,
Morning, Major...
Sam Ballot.
Major Sam Ballot. Cass Tennel, Rome Broadcasting Corporation.
I don't care who you are, this is a restricted area and you're trespassing.
We've just been speaking to the governor and he had no problem answering our questions.
Is this official?
Governor Pilot is fully apprised of our investigation.
I have nothing to say.
Does that mean you have something to hide, Major?
No, it does not. Look here, mister.
Tennel. Look, just some questions.
No.
It's your decision, of course. I'm sure the Governor General will understand your refusal to cooperate.
I don't like your tone, Mr. Tennel.
I'm sorry. But I have my orders, as you do. Major, your troops have come out of this morning's incident rather bad.
The Romans are finger pointing and they don't blame themselves.
I'm just giving you a chance to set the record straight.
All right, keep it short.
Tell me, Major Sambal, what exactly did happen here this morning?
There was an earthquake, 0400 hours.
Are you actually here, were you, when it happened?
No, I was in the main guard room.
So who was in charge here at the tomb?
Sergeant Bakra and Captain Jakob was visiting.
Did he, while visiting, witness the earthquake personally?
He did?
Would it be possible for us to speak to him?
Afraid not.
Any special reason?
He's not available.
Was he injured?
No.
What about Sergeant Bakra and the rest of the guard?
No, not available.
So there was some trouble.
Certainly not.
Is it true that the men panicked?
Certainly not.
Then, Major, what did happen? Something went wrong.
It's classified. You'll have to wait for the official inquiry.
Tell me, who reported the incident to you, Major?
Incident? What incident?
The earthquake. What else?
Sergeant Bakra called me.
Did he seem shaken?
Concerned, naturally.
About what?
The welfare of the men.
And tomb, that it had been burst open?
That too.
So you got down here straight away. What was happening then?
Nothing. Captain Jakob had rallied the men. Everything was quiet.
You say rallied. So they needed to be rallied, but when you arrived, everything was in order.
Perfectly in order.
But the tomb was empty.
Yes, it was empty.
Yeah, any chance of getting a look in there now?
Afraid not. Quite unsafe. The roof may come down at any moment.
This tomb, it's very elaborate for a criminal, isn't it?
It was built for someone else, a rabbi at Dramatised, a member of the Sanhedrin.
And he used his influence to give a criminal a decent burial.
Apparently.
It's a bit odd, isn't it? So you got down here, and the body was missing.
That's what I've said.
Your explanation of it, Major?
It's all in my report.
Major Shambhala, what is your opinion of Joshua Davidson?
I'm a soldier, sir. I have no opinion.
Quite. But you're also a Jew. Surely as a Jew you have some opinion about a man who dared to call himself God.
That is blasphemy.
Major, are you sure he is dead?
Quite sure now, if you kindly leave the area, Mr. Tennel.
Yes, slowly. Thank you, Major.
Quite sure now, if you'll kindly leave the area, Mr. Tennel. Jenny will sort the Major. I wonder what he put in that report of his.
Whatever it was, it's giving him the shakes.
Wonder how we can sneak a peek at it. Ooh, interesting. Text from my pal at News 24. The High Priest Lord Caiaphas has convened an extraordinary meeting of the Sanhedrin.
The most powerful group of religious and social leaders in the country coming together for an unscheduled meeting. Why would they be doing that, I wonder?
I guess I know where we're going next.
All right, I'll see you later. God bless. Goodbye.
Excuse me, sir.
Shalom, my daughter. May you have peace.
Do you mind if I ask you one or two questions?
Questions? What sort of questions?
Perhaps we could begin by asking your name.
My name is Nicodemus, but I don't...
The Reverend Jacob Nicodemus.
Yes, that's me.
I wonder, sir, can I ask you about this morning's meeting?
You're reporters.
Uh-oh, covers blown, Cass.
Cass Tennel, RBC News.
Congratulations, Cass. You're famous.
There are not many in your profession for whom I have respect. And you, Mr. Tennel, are an exception.
So you're willing to talk to us about the Sanhedrin's meeting?
As long as I don't appear on camera, and you don't mention me by name.
A source close to the Sanhedrin.
Oh no, don't worry about me. Lugging this camera around keeps me fit. I'll be in the coffee shop down the road if you decide you need me. Shalom.
The meeting was about Joshua Davidson, I take it.
He was discussed.
But not as a political figure.
We are priests, not statesmen. Our concern is with matters of faith, not politics. Political issues we are glad to leave to Rome.
So you discussed the religious implications of his resurrection.
Of his?
Resurrection.
The power to conquer death belongs to God alone.
So if Davidson is genuinely alive, the only inference can be that he is God. And that's what you've been discussing this morning. Is he alive, sir?
Alive? How can he be?
It has been said that last Thursday night you opposed his trial. Is that true?
No, it is not. I endeavour to ensure that the trial was conducted properly and legally.
He was convicted on sound evidence under proper legal procedures.
The evidence was heard.
That's not what he asked you, Mr. Nicodemus.
I don't wish to appear awkward, but would you mind not calling me Mr. Nicodemus? I'm accustomed to being addressed as Rabbi.
Of course, Rabbi, I apologise. But this matter of the evidence, was it satisfactory?
There were some minor discrepancies.
But enough perhaps to hang an innocent man?
That is a most infamous suggestion.
I beg your pardon, Rabbi? I understand there were many witnesses against him, but none for the defence.
There was no need of witnesses. He convicted himself.
You mean he confessed?
It was more than a confession. It was a proclamation. He actually said very little, but what he did say was utterly damning. He made it impossible for us to save him.
Did anyone refuse to vote for his death?
You have no right to ask that question.
Did you, Rabbi? Did you refuse to vote for his death?
Yes, I refused to vote.
It was a blasphemy charge, wasn't it?
He claimed to be the Son of God. That is why we were powerless to save him.
So you wanted to save him?
Does God have a son?
That is our belief. The Messiah who will come to give us life.
Life, but we already have that.
What we have is the illusion of life. A handful of years between birth and death. For some, those years are filled with good and blessing. For others, there is poverty, pain, and suffering. But there is a dream that we all dream. A dream of freedom. It haunts us because we are all trapped as prisoners in a mortal body. Jew and Gentile, rich and poor, from the moment of birth, we are all condemned to death. We see true life the way a prisoner sees the world from his prison cell. See it and long to possess it. When my people were held prisoner in Babylon, there was a prophet called Isaiah who understood these things. He saw the exile as a symbol of the prison of death. He spoke of the Son of God. Behold my servant, whom I uphold, my chosen one, in whom I delight. I have given him as a light to the nations, to open up the eyes that are blind, to bring the prisoner out from the dungeon, and them that sit in darkness from the prison cell.
That's all very interesting, Rabbi. Of course, I'm not competent to talk about the theology and all of this, but it seems to me that Joshua Davidson would fit very neatly into your description of the Messiah. I mean, this opening of the blind eyes and so on. I hear he rather specialised in that sort of a thing.
In many ways, he was a remarkable man. And for a while, some of us dared to hope that perhaps in him the hope of our nation would be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
But we were mistaken.
And you're sure of that?
Quite sure.
How can you be so sure?
Because he is dead. And the Messiah, as the giver of life, cannot die.
Just one more question. The charge against him was blasphemy, and yet he was executed as an enemy of the state rather than of the church. Can you perhaps explain how a man charged with blasphemy can be executed for high treason?
It was...
It was a pit-up job to get rid of him?
I'm sorry, I really can't answer any more questions.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you very much indeed.
Right. Let's put this story to bed. We can run it now. Straight political story, naive idealist attempt to put it on. Steady old administration after years of experience with just this sort of thing. Nips it in the butt.
You mean we should take Pilate at his word?
Why not?
Well, it's too tidy. Begs too many questions.
I've seen smoother jobs, certainly, but not from Pilate. Compared to his usual performance, this is a masterpiece.
A masterpiece of diplomatic murder?
All right, Rosa, all right, we get it. Dirty business, dirty world.
I'm sorry, Nickie. It won't do.
Won't do.
Legalised murder, whoever he was. I can't let them just get away with it without working up a sweat first.
May I ask exactly how you are going to switch the heat on?
I don't know. Dig around, find some of Davidson's friends, hear their side of the story.
And what do you think that's going to achieve?
It might give us a real reason for his execution.
Save yourself the trouble. What do you think that's going to achieve?
Might give us a real reason for his execution.
He was executed for treason, as Pilate said.
You know as well as we do, there's more to it.
Cass, even if there is, we can't touch it.
Why not?
Because it's religious. If you let yourself get involved, it will finish you both.
I'm meant to risk it.
So am I.
You are joking, of course.
I'm unusually serious.
You would risk your professional reputation on some outlandish story about a man you never even met coming back to life after being executed.
It won't come to that. I just want to follow the intriguing trail of the story, that's all.
Come off it, Cass. Patros told you this thing's dynamite. Get this story sorted out and tidy up all this rubbish about dead men coming back to life. That's what we want, that's what I want. A nice, neat piece that puts this whole thing into perspective and gives the political temperature a chance to cool down. But oh no, that won't do, not for Tennel. Not Cass Tennel, the poor man's hero with the oversized conscience. We must dig deeper. We must dig up a whole load of superstitious muck that nobody in his right mind would take seriously.
I hate to state the obvious, but the tomb was actually empty. The body was missing. Somehow, I think you've got to get that in.
Okay, so the body's been stolen, probably by his friends.
So then why don't they say so? Pilots, Caiaphas, why don't they tell us officially that that's what's happened?
They will, Rosa, they will. There's the guards, you know. They don't want the Jewish temple guards to be a laughing stock in every Roman mess from here to Britain.
I'm still not convinced. But there's something that they're doing their darndest to hide because it frightens me.
You are starting to sound paranoid.
Are you afraid I'll uncover the truth?
Might I make a small suggestion? If we stop to carve each other up like a couple of clap-happy gladiators, we might get around to doing something constructive.
Like what?
Like finding Davidson's body, perhaps. Find the body. She's right.
It's the obvious move.
Just one of those flashes. They come to me occasionally.
Well, that's nice for you, but how do your flashes suggest we set about looking for it?
There's not much in the file, but Davidson had friends all over the place. I'm sure we could get some leads.
Like this garbled nonsense I was looking at earlier. Message received 1300 hours, caller wouldn't give his name, had heard of our interest in Davidson, anonymous caller suggested contacting the Magdala, no details given.
The Magdala. What's she got to do with it? Do you have any idea who the Magdala is?
Should we?
I'm sure you should. She's an exotic dancer, or at least she was. Worked in one of the clubs in the Old Quarter. A very talented performer too, by all accounts.
Accounts from our male colleagues, I guess.
You say she was a dancer. Do you mean she chucked it out?
Disappeared about a year ago. 1 week doing her thing and the next, gone. No trace. Plenty of rumours, of course.
But the facts?
None.
And since?
Nothing. If she's still around, she's not dancing anymore. We'd have heard. But I must say, she seems like an unlikely source of information about Davidson.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a long shot, but we've tried all the obvious people and got very little change. I think we ought to have a talk with this Magdala.
How do you plan to find her?
Give me a minute. Hi, Dover. Yeah, I'm alright, thanks. Listen, about that anonymous call at 1 o'clock. Any chance you could trace it? You have? Oh, that's excellent. Jericho. Alright, that's great. Thanks so much. Cheers. Bye.
Jericho, that figures.
Oh,
He was there less than a month ago. Cheering crowds, official welcome by the mayor, top VIP stuff.
Any special reason?
They're like that down there. Excitable, unpredictable, comes of living below sea level and breathing air that's 3 parts pure sulfur. Anyway, Davidson had the town in his pocket until he chose the most hated man in the place and invited himself to dinner there. Forget the cheering crowds, forget the mayor, off goes Davidson with Zacchaeus.
Zacchaeus? Who is? Eh?
Zacchaeus. Imperial Tax Department. He's been fleecing the citizens of Jericho for years. Everyone knows what he's up to, but nobody can do a darn thing about it because he has Roman protection.
and Davidson stayed at his house.
God knows why. If he'd searched for a year, he couldn't have found a worse man to be friendly with. Still, it wasn't the first time he played his cards badly. Didn't have a clue about people. Perhaps that was it. He just couldn't judge character. Curious feeling for a man so talented. Why don't you head down to Jericho and have a crack at our friend Zacchaeus? And you can ask him, Magdala, face to face.
The Messiah cannot die. These are the words of one of the Sanhedrin's leading rabbis. For him, and those like him, the execution of Davidson last Friday seemed to rule out the possibility of his being the Messiah. But what do the people think? Do they regard Davidson's death as final? It's hard in this tangle of narrow alleys to find the men who might answer some of the questions on everybody's lips. Men like Peter Johnson and the Zebedee brothers, Davidson's closest associates, are in hiding. For the full story, tune into RBC1, Friday night, 9 p.m.
Mr. Zacchaeus?
Come for the knick-knacks, have you?
No, we're
In there, already waiting.
What about sculptures?
Take them out too. We have to go in the van with the rest of the stuff. Everything must go. Here's the list of the charities I decided to get the proceeds from the auction.
Mr. Zacchaeus, I think we ought to introduce ourselves.
And what about the avant-garde collection?
In the van to go to the auction house. I don't like it much myself, but it's money in the bank, all for a good cause.
Do you think we could talk for a few minutes?
Talk? What do you want to talk about?
Joshua Davidson, you rang and left a message.
Oh, had the call traced, did you?
Something like that?
Good for you. People with initiative. Find the Magdala too, did you?
Not yet. I was hoping you could help us there.
Maybe. Don't know. Have to think about it. Nice picture. Italian. Artist will be famous one day.
You're moving house?
Heading north, first thing Tuesday, Galilee.
And all this?
Clearing the lot. Every last stick and stitch of it. Taken me years to get this little lot together. Every piece a collector's delight. And now it's all going, just like that. Crazy, isn't it?
About a little talk.
Yes, well, mind taking it over here. Chaos in there it is.
Is it true that you actually met Joshua Davidson?
That's right.
So you're one of his men, are you?
In a way, yes, I suppose you could say that.
Does that mean you believe in him?
It does.
As the Son of God?
Certainly.
Why? Why do you believe in him?
He set me free.
Free? From what?
From myself.
How did he do that?
He accepted me. He met me in the street. I was up a tree. I was curious. I wanted to see him go by. I wanted to find out what he looked like. But they wouldn't let me through. I'm not what you would call popular in this town. Can't expect to be, of course. I've milked them dry for years. So when they saw it was me, they bunched together and shouldered me out of the way. That's when I shinned up that tree. And he looks up to see what it was all about. And he stopped and they all got quiet. Aren't you going to ask me round for dinner, Regim Zacchaeus? Oh, first civil word in 40 odd years. Knew my name too, so he did. Shook me silly. I nearly fell out of the tree on top of his head.
Can you sign this, please, Mr. Zacchaeus?
Oh, cut.
We Jews are taught to love God and our neighbour, but we don't because love is a luxury that we can't afford. But Davidson was different. Love, the only thing he had, and that's what he gave me. He sat at my table, he ate my food, and he gave me love. If you want to know a man, that's the way to do it. Sit down and eat with him. That's what he did. No impersonal God locked up in the temple and synagogue out of reach. When he came, it was God in my house, making himself at home, loving me unconditionally. No need to pretend anymore. I'm free.
And what are you going to do with your freedom?
I'm going to live.
And you're giving up your house here in Jericho?
That's right.
Literally giving it away?
Yes.
Furniture too?
House, furniture, bank account, the lot. I don't need it. I don't need any of it. It used to be a part of me, built up bit by bit to give me standing. It was all that mattered. But now, I'm a person in my own right. I've got my freedom, you see. Complete and free. That's all any man needs.
Where do you go from here?
Up north to meet him again.
Davidson?
That's right.
And what do you do when you've had your meeting?
No idea. See what he says.
Mr. Zacchaeus, sounds from all this that you're quite sure he's alive again.
Oh, he's alive all right. No doubt about that. No doubt at all.
So all this business of Davidson being executed and coming back to life, you believe it?
Of course.
Well, there's no of course about it.
Why not? He said he would come back from the dead, and he has done.
So you were there when it happened?
No,
But you've seen him since.
not yet.
So it's a rumour.
Listen, do you think that I would give up all this on the strength of a rumour?
Alright, so you've got some inside information.
You could call it that.
Reliable?
Safe as a bank.
Who's your source?
The Magdala.
The girl who was the dancer
She rang this morning.
and said it was a lie.
That's right.
So that's your reliable information. A phone call from a call answer.
I don't see what her being a dancer's got to do with it. She's seen him and talked to him. I reckon that to count for something.
Seen him? You mean this morning?
5 o'clock or thereabouts. In the garden, right outside the tomb.
And you say you talked to her?
That's right. He gave her a message for all his friends. We're to meet him in Galilee.
Mr. Zacchaeus, I've got to see this girl.
That's all catalogued and loaded now, Mr. Zacchaeus.
Thank you.
Hearsay is not enough. We need an eyewitness.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Tennel. See, she's lying low at the minute, what with the Sanhedrin and the army and the police looking for her and the others. Well, promise me this. No pressure to make her talk to you if she doesn't want to.
We promise.
Well, there you are then. Good luck to you.
You mean you trust us? Thank you.
Don't thank me, love. Thank Joshua Davidson. His idea, not mine.
That's why we want to know more about him.
Well, remember, it's up to her to talk. Or not. Shalom.
Shalom. May you live to climb many more trees.
Quite a character, isn't he?
I'd never have taken him for a religious man.
No, but what's a religious man like, Rosa?
Papers, please.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am.
What's this all about?
Routine security precautions.
Precautions against what?
Trouble. What else? Returning to your office, are you?
Not yet. We have someone to see in the city first.
Sorry, sir. City's out of bounds till morning. Nobody in, nobody out. Orders from Governor General.
Yes, but look here. This is important. We're doing a story in Joshua Davidson. We need to get into the city.
Then you'll know all about it then, won't you?
All about what?
The curfew. Like I said, it's a routine precaution.
Oh, 10th Legion. We'll get no change out of these guys.
Look, Corporal. You've seen how it passes.
Sorry, sir. Just can't go into the city tonight.
I would like to have a word with your commanding officer, please.
Quite impossible. We've had strict
What's
orders.
impossible, Corporal? Who's this?
Name of Tennel, sir. Rome Broadcasting Corporation. Seeking to enter city after curfew. Asking to speak to the Colonel.
You want to speak to the Colonel?
I do.
What about Mr. Tennel? Are you a friend of his?
No, but it's a matter of some urgency.
My dear chap, I should hope it is. Nobody in the right mind disturbs your man at this time of night for anything less than an armed insurrection.
I'll take responsibility for that.
Steady on, old boy. Doesn't quite work like that.
Look, we urgently need to get into the city tonight. It's as easy as that.
Easy answer, too. You just can't.
But there's someone in there that we need to meet urgently.
Oh. Who?
I'm afraid I can't reveal our sources, but if you let us talk to the Colonel...
Well, let me tell you a little secret. Our old man just doesn't like reporters. Eats them for breakfast.
And show me right to his table.
No can do, I'm afraid.
You know, when I spoke to the Governor General this morning, he was much more cooperative than you've been. It's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yes, isn't it? Carry on, Corporal. Curfew ends 05:30 hours. Good night.
No joy then. Bad luck.
We haven't a hope of getting through to see the Magdala. She'll try to slip out on the sly if she's any sense.
Oh, let's just try again tomorrow. Let's find a taxi and head back to the hotel.
Wait a minute. Seen him before?
No? Should I have?
Name's Thomas Didymus. He's a mechanic. That's his garage.
Fascinating. Why are you telling me this?
Because he also happens to be one of Davidson's followers.
Well, that's a consolation prize at least. Rosa, do you want to go front of camera for this one?
Seriously?
Mr. Patros thinks you're ready. I think you're ready. Besides, you know more about this Tom Didymus than I do. Go for it.
I've nothing to hide, miss. I don't care who's listening. It's dead. That's all there is to it.
So do you think it's all just rumours then?
For blooming thinking. I saw him die off, didn't I?
Well, it's not just the women, you know. Zacchaeus is convinced.
Well, I'm not. Mary Maggs reckons she saw him this morning. Put her arms around him, so she says. Talked with him and everything. Fair enough. When that happens to me, I'll believe too. Until I've seen him alive, touched him, made sure it's really him. Not falling for a load of stupid stories about dead men walking.
But didn't he actually say that he would rise again? Didn't he say that he would come back from the dead?
Okay, he said that.
But you don't believe that he has?
Not what Mary Maggs says so, no.
But the tomb is actually empty.
Yes.
Was it robbed, do you think?
Wouldn't be the first, would it?
So who do you think stole the body?
I don't know.
You do actually want Davidson to be alive again, don't you?
Have you known him like we known him? Lived with him for 3 years! We believed in him! We thought he was God!
What about him made you think that?
If someone turns up from out of the blue and starts performing these miracles all over the place, wouldn't you think he was God?
Well, our focus isn't miracles here. We'd rather stick to the facts.
Never seen a miracle happening before, have you?
Oh, no, I haven't.
I have. Scores of times.
Oh, really?
Oh, come on, leave it out, will you?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
There was this one time, right? We walked into this village, and there was this blind beggar outside the synagogue, propped up against the wall. I was covered in flies, tin mug in his fist, whining for a handout. Yeshua, he walked right across to the poor devil. He spit in his eyes, said these words to him. And next thing, he opened his eyes wide, like our kid opening his birthday present. And he was able to see, no bother at all.
That's impressive, certainly.
Impressive? It was blooming marvellous. There was this one other time, right? There was a few of us. We were up in Lake Galilee, night time it was, wind dead against us all night. We were terrified. Next thing, Yeshua, he came to meet us. Walking on the waves, taking a stroll. Like me and you were just across the park. If you'd seen a man do all these things, wouldn't you believe he was God?
But now you've changed your mind about him.
He's dead, isn't he?
His death makes a difference?
God can't die.
What was he like as a person, I mean?
I don't know. Different, I suppose.
And was he a good man, Mr. Didymus? Was he clever, compassionate, understanding?
There aren't any words. Good, clever, compassionate. Don't begin to say what he was like. Okay, he was those things. He was all the right things. But the words, they just don't mean anything when you use them about him.
So what was it all about, Mr. Didymus? What did you expect him to do?
Take over the government, of course. Kick out the Romans. No offence. Set up his kingdom, what else? He thought he was Messiah.
And is that what your Messiah will do? Start a revolution and take over the government and rule?
Not just talking about this country, love. World revolution. That's what I'm on about. The government will be upon his shoulders. That's Messiah.
A village joiner and a handful of men against the Sanhedrin and all the forces of Rome.
Like I said, he thought he was God.
So what will you do now? Now he's dead, what does the future hold for you and his 12 disciples?
Now, doesn't matter, does it? It's finished all over.
So what will you do?
Back at work, aren't I? Picking up the balloon pieces and back to square one.
Can I ask you about your friend Iscariot?
Judas. What about him?
He's dead too, isn't he?
Yes, so?
We've heard that he betrayed Davidson for a payoff. How do you feel about that?
What does it matter what he did? The whole thing was finished. We all knew that. It's only a question of time. He went and made his bid at the feast and it didn't come off.
You mean when he rode into the city?
Yes. Look, love, like I said, we thought he was God, didn't we? And we believed him, right? Well, we were wrong. That's all.
So is that why Iscariot did what he did?
Part of it. Look, love, when Yeshua, was talking, it sounded blooming marvellous. But what did it all mean? Even your big brains like John Zebedee and Judas, they couldn't follow it all. Must have broke him in the end, pushing at us all the time about life, freedom, the kingdom, and us getting nowhere. I reckon that's what did him in the end. Not getting across even to his mates. You know, it wasn't Judas or Caiaphas or Pilate that killed him, it was us! It was his friends. Funny what he said. Last Thursday we were having supper with them, didn't we? And what he said, it's like he knew he was going to die. He picked up the loaf, broke it off in these bits for us, said, "Take, eat it. It's my body. I've broken it into bits for you." Then the wine, he offered it to us like real special. "Take, have a good drink, the lot of you, because it's my blood. And it's for you."
Must have been a remarkable man.
He died the next day. Friday, the afternoon. Turn that off! We did nothing to help him. We murdered him!
What has this vulgar underworld of strip clubs and seamy pole dancing got to do with Joshua Davidson? What did we expect to find out about him by peering amongst the faces leering at the flesh on show in the old quarters dens of iniquity? The answer is the Magdala, exotic dancer extraordinaire, until her sudden disappearance 12 months ago when she turned her back on the indisputable position as queen of the old quarter to become a follower, a friend of this enigmatic yet dynamic Davidson.
Well, you really know how to show a girl a good time, don't you, Cass?
I'm sorry.
How many strip clubs did we visit today?
I don't want to think about it. And I shudder to think what footage we can use in the piece. It's not as if we were even looking for her. We'd already arranged this.
So remind me again, why were we there?
Like I said, I'm sorry, but we needed more of the backstory, context for Magdalene.
Sure we did.
Well, at least we managed to get some juicy background info on the Magdalene and Davidson. Are you sure this is the right place?
I reckon so.
Do you think she'll turn up?
That'd be a miracle.
As with Cass getting the Pulitzer for this piece.
I presume.
Miss Magdalene?
Hi.
This is my research assistant Rosa and camera operator Elsa. Thank you for coming.
It's my pleasure. We'll be completely safe here, but I have to insist. No filming?
Oh, we understand. As I said on the phone, we don't want to put you in any jeopardy.
And once again, the camera girl gets blown off. Would you at least like something to drink?
Thank you. Coffee, black, no sugar?
The usual?
Thank you.
Do you mind if we record the interview? We can protect your identity by using an actress, but still using your words.
We're trying to establish the truth about Joshua Davidson. I understand you knew him well.
Yes.
How well, Miss Magdalene?
Very well.
Intimately?
Yes. Surprise, Mr. Tennel.
A little. You are, after all,
A pole dancer? A stripper? Or I was. And he is God. You don't think God cares about dancing girls?
But is he God?
Oh, yes. He's God. The blessed one, the life of the world.
Life? But we're talking about a dead man.
No, we're not. He was dead, that's for certain, but now he's alive again.
That's a rumour we've all heard, of
Not
course.
a rumour. Mr. Tennel, the truth. That's what you said you wanted, isn't it? The truth. Well, there it is. He's alive again.
You sound very sure of that, Miss Magdalene.
Very sure.
How can you be so certain?
Because I've seen him.
Miss Magdalene, I can see that you are very attached to him.
I love him. If that's what you mean. Now I've made you uncomfortable. I don't mean that sort of loving. This is something quite different. A new kind of love.
I'm afraid that's a bit over my head, Miss Magdalene.
I know. But it's real. And it's not going to be easy to get people to understand. He warned us of that.
Could you tell us something about him? What was he like as a person? Was he happy, for instance?
Happy? No, that's too superficial a description. We spend our whole lives chasing happiness, but it's so elusive, so transient. What do you think? He was much more than that. Not a victim of circumstances, but in control of them.
He didn't seem in much control when he was tried and executed.
That's what we thought. Last Friday we all would have agreed with you. That's the way things looked. But then, yesterday changed everything.
What? At the tomb, you mean? What actually happened?
He broke out. Nothing they could do could hold him. They mounted a guard, sealed up the tomb, but it was pathetic, ridiculous, really. Like tying up a sleeping lion with cotton thread. When he wakened, he just snapped the thread and strode right out.
People we've spoken to say that you saw him outside the tomb alive.
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's just so hard to believe.
Don't you see? It's a miracle. They came quite naturally to him. Actually ashamed that we were so slow to realise this.
I find that quite understandable. I'm not much of a miracle man myself.
He performed many. The trouble is people misunderstood them.
Didn't believe in them, you mean?
Oh no, they believed all right. If you see a cripple get up and walk, or a deaf mute you've known your whole life suddenly starts singing, you don't have much of an option, do you? It's the meaning of the things he did they couldn't understand. They thought he was an ordinary man doing something extraordinary.
Yes.
No. That's exactly the point. He wasn't an ordinary man, he was God. And the things he did came quite naturally to him. Once you see that, the rest is perfectly logical.
Or even a resurrection.
Especially that. Death can't hold God.
And you saw him in the garden outside the tomb?
Yes, I saw him and spoke to him.
But how was it that you were in the garden so early in the morning? Did you arrange it before he died? Secret rendezvous?
Nothing so dramatic. It was simply our first opportunity to visit the tomb. The burial had to be before the Sabbath starts at sunset. And we had no time to anoint the body. That's what we were going to do yesterday morning. I know it must sound odd to you, but Our Jewish funeral customs are important to us.
I understand.
We were worried about how we were going to get into the tomb, what with the great stone and everything. But of course, when we got there, to our great surprise, the guard was gone and the tomb was wide open. And when we looked inside, it was empty.
And you considered the possibility of grave robbers?
That's what we thought at first. Grave robbers or the Sanhedrin.
Why should Sanhedrin have wanted the body?
I don't know. Maybe they thought it would turn into a sort of shrine. But of course it wasn't then. We know that now. But at the time, we rushed off to go and find Peter Johnson and John Zebedee. And they rushed off the second they heard something had happened.
But they were surprised at the news.
Surprised. And confused. Shocked. Angry even.
So these men, his closest friends, never expected him to come back from the dead, even though he had predicted he would.
None of us did.
So you went back to the tomb?
Yeah. When I got there, Peter was just coming out. He looked so dejected. And then John came straight after, and I didn't hear what they said, and they didn't see me. They just walked away.
And you stayed behind?
Yeah, I didn't want them to see me weeping, so I...
That must have been very dramatic for you.
You don't believe me, do you? You think I'm a neurotic or something. Look, it was a shock. Finding that empty tomb, a terrible shock.
Of course.
The thought of them dragging his body out of his grave in the middle of the night. Just for a moment, when the men had gone, I questioned my sanity. But then he came and spoke to me.
You mean Davidson?
I'm sure. Yes. He asked me why I was crying. It's funny, isn't it? The way a familiar voice sounds so strange when you least expect to hear it.
It's unbelievable.
On the contrary, it's very believable. He gave me a message for Peter and the other men, but I just hugged him. I was so glad to see him.
What was the message? Can you tell us?
Yeah. If killing him can't keep him quiet, nothing can. Go tell my brothers this, he said. I'm going to my father and to your father, to my God and to your God. But first I'm going to Galilee, and they must meet me there.
And they understood this?
Yes, it's exactly what you promised.
And yet, when you first found the tomb empty, you didn't consider the possibility of a resurrection?
I don't think any of us actually expected it to happen. Looking back now, we must have broken his heart 100 times over by not understanding the truth about him.
That's what Tom Didymus told us last night. He thought it was his failure of understanding that destroyed Davidson in the end.
Why does he still doubt? I need to go and see him.
I think that would be good for him.
Before you go, can you perhaps explain how Davidson managed to persuade you to leave your old job, which you would like?
He didn't persuade me. He healed me. You mustn't try and fit him into some sort of recognised category, like a super psychiatrist or something. They brought me to him, and he set me free.
Free? In what way?
From myself, from my sin, from everything that separated me from God.
You mean he forgave you, like Zacchaeus?
Forgave, set free, healed, it all adds up to life. He accepted me in spite of who I was and what I had done. It was like a mini resurrection. And I understand that now. It's like being born again.
Well, I'm not sure I understand all of that. But it seems to me that your peace of mind, your happiness, your basic ability to go on living all seems to be based on one vital fact. Joshua Davidson was what he said he was.
Have you seen him since?
No, not yet. But some of the others have.
Miss Magdala has been extremely enlightening and
Believable?
worth thinking about anyway. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the coffee. And you have my number if you need anything.
Thank you.
Well, she just blew apart my three conceptions.
About strippers or dead men walking?
From the heavily guarded alleyways of Jerusalem, Miss Magdala's story came to us with sharp sincerity. She firmly believes that Joshua Davidson, executed in public only last Friday, is alive again.
Cass Tennel's phone.
Oh, hi, Nickie.
Yeah, it was a really good interview with the Magdala. No, she didn't want to appear on screen. Yeah, I did tell her that. Oh, really? Well, that's fantastic. It's almost as though we're getting divine guidance on this assignment. Yeah, he's deep in thought, but I'll let him know. Thanks, Nickie. Bye. Bye.
Well, what was after that?
Nickie's only gone and secured us an interview with Caiaphas.
Wow.
At least I know he'll let me film the interview.
Well, we better get going. I'll give you the profile and bio.
So it seems the victory of Rome's 22nd Legion in northern Britannia has been hampered only by appalling weather conditions. No one from the military was available to comment on the unsubstantiated reports that the primitive northern tribe propelled the advance of Rome's finest. We move our attention now to the Middle East, where an unusual story has been developing. Our investigative reporter, Cass Tennel, has been working on a full-blown documentary on this matter of an executed political prisoner who, it is claimed by some, has been resurrected from the dead. For an update, we cross over to Jerusalem, where Cass joins us now.
Thank you, Nickie. Yes, as you can imagine, we were highly sceptical when rumours started to surface of a dead man coming back to life. However, the deeper we dig into this story, the more intriguing it becomes. What began as a straightforward analysis of rumours has developed into a much bigger story. Although we cannot definitively make any conclusions at this stage, what we can say is that Jerusalem's religious and political establishments are being turned upside down as these reports continue to circulate that Joshua Davidson has risen from the dead. Cass Tennel reporting live from Jerusalem. Back to Nickie in the studio.
An hour-long special of Cass Tennel Investigates is due to be shown on Friday evening here on RBC1. Now, let's have a look at what the weather has in store.
There was just one more thing, Your Grace. Mr. Tennel.
Who?
Tennel. Cass Tennel, Rome Broadcasting Corporation.
Cancel it. Keep it general. Considerable demands on time and energies during the last few days.
Forgive me, Your Grace. I did threaten to cancel the interview, but he was insistent, and his implications were unpleasant.
Implications?
He said that the Governor General had been very cooperative, and that his viewers would be expecting an authoritative statement from you. He implied that he would draw his own conclusions should you not be willing to talk about Davidson.
Tell him he has 10 minutes.
Careful, Cass. This one bites.
Mr. Tennel, let us dispense with shallow pleasantries. I did not invite this intrusion, and I do not intend to make the process easy for you.
In my profession, Your Grace, I'm always grateful for any courtesies I receive. Lord Caiaphas, perhaps we may begin with the special meeting of the Sanhedrin yesterday morning.
As you wish. Concerned the blasphemer Davidson.
Sort of post-mortem.
if you like.
You pressed for his execution on Thursday.
It's my duty to do so, Mr. Tennel.
Why? Why was it so important to you that he should die?
Well, not to me personally. I'm a priest of God, Mr. Tennel. As such, I desire the death of no man. But as High Priest, I have certain responsibilities. His death was regrettable, but in the national interest.
Surely, Your Grace, he did a great deal for the nation. The healings, for instance.
He was a heretic and a rabble-rouser. We cannot afford such men to threaten our religious traditions, our way of life.
There was a political angle too, wasn't there?
Well, there is always a political angle. That is something Rome has taught us all.
To get back to yesterday's meeting, did you discuss this rumour about his resurrection?
This rumour? Mr. Tennel, we are not in the habit of convening the Sanhedrin to waste time discussing rumours. Our concern is with facts.
And I thought the Sanhedrin's concern was with matters of faith.
But it is a fact, isn't it, that Davidson's tomb was found empty yesterday morning?
Indeed.
Well, what did the Sanhedrin make of that?
A simple, if rather clumsy, case of grave robbery. Some of Davidson's gang broke into the tomb in the night and stole the body.
I see.
We were expecting it, of course.
Oh?
He had been reckless enough on more than one occasion to predict his own resurrection.
Stealing a body can hardly be described as a resurrection.
Can be made to look very like one, Mr. Tennant. I'm afraid some of our people are a little imaginative. Signs and portents, you know, the sort of thing.
Like the way the temple curtain stormed down the middle at the very moment of Davidson's death last Friday. Odd, isn't it?
Odd. It was despicable. An outrageous act of vandalism.
Well, you think someone ripped it deliberately?
One of Davidson's gang. It's the obvious explanation.
So one of his men managed to enter into the most holy place and with his bare hands rip a 30 feet tall embroidered curtain material without anyone noticing or apprehending him. I understand the guards were overpowered. At the tomb, I mean.
Ah, yes, the guards. I see we must make a clean breast of it, Mr. Tennel. The guards were not overpowered. The fact is they were asleep. And while they slept, the tomb was robbed. Painful admission, I'm afraid. And a damaging one to Jewish military pride, but there it is. Truthful out, Mr. Tennel. We may not be very good soldiers, but at least we can be honest men.
Yes, but it's hard to credit, Your Grace, that they were all asleep. One or two perhaps, but the whole contingent.
Shall we just say that it is not unusual, even in Rome, I am told, for there to be a certain amount of injudicious, celebration at the end of a great festival.
A drunken stupor? Is that what you're implying?
A most unfortunate lapse.
And plausible too, as excuses go.
Summing up things so far then, the main point seemed to be Davidson was properly executed and his body buried. Sometime on Saturday or very early Sunday morning, while the guards were, shall we say, incapacitated. The tomb was broken into and the body stolen. Is that right?
Perfectly correct.
So what would you say if I told you that we have evidence that Joshua Davidson has been seen alive in the last 24 hours?
Nonsense. That is what I should say, nonsense. And vicious, irresponsible nonsense at that.
Sounded neither vicious nor irresponsible to us.
Mr. Tennel, I say I must be frank with you. We have had a great deal of trouble with Davidson. We have been extremely patient and lenient.
Lenient? You had him executed.
Who is this?
This is my research assistant.
Keep her quiet. During the last 3 years, Davidson has shown nothing but contempt towards our established religious norms, undermining our authority at every opportunity.
Yes, but couldn't that be said, in fact, of every great reformer?
A village joiner who sits drinking in taverns and chooses his friends from the lowest strata of our society can hardly be described as a religious reformer, Mr. Tennel. He was destroying the moral fibre of our people with his teaching. He broke the law continually. He attacked the law of God by which we order our lives, the law by which we have survived in the face of repeated occupations by our enemies.
Political motive.
Religious. We are an intensely religious nation, struggling to hold our place in a world which has in the main grown tired of religion. We are a small nation, and our neighbours have always been far more powerful than we. And yet we have outlived them all. Not because we are stronger than they are, but because we have remained faithful to God's law. That is why we had to silence Davidson. He broke the law continually and encouraged our people to break it.
So you feel it is a matter of expediency that one man should die to save the whole country?
Of course. That is the whole point. You understand, we cannot afford to have wild rumours of his resurrection promoted by the press. Joshua Davidson is dead. That is a fact, Mr. Tennel.
They say he claimed to be Messiah.
He made many claims, but the sharp reality of a wooden gibbet disproved them all. You cannot bluff death.
True. But it is perhaps possible that in Joshua Davidson we found a man who can overcome death, who possesses the messianic gift, the power to lay down his life and the power to raise it up again.
Your research into our faith is laudable, but your interpretation is not entirely accurate. Messiah is stronger than death. So to put it quite simply, Messiah cannot die. Any flickering doubts about the identity of this Davidson were extinguished at the same time he was.
You never wondered in your own mind whether he could be the Messiah?
Not for one moment.
Many people did. Intelligent people, who began by being sceptical of his claims, but became in the end his devoted followers.
Even intelligent people can be incredibly naive on matters of religion. I can assure you that when Messiah comes, we will recognise him. And Joshua Davidson was not him. At his trial last Thursday, we went out of our way to make it easy for him to substantiate his claim.
And his reply?
He used the secret name of God.
I'm sorry.
The forbidden name. The holy name. That's only spoken by the high priest in the most holy place of the temple.
Behind the great curtain?
At least before it ripped in two.
Just so. The name God gave Moses in the desert. For a man to use it of himself is the ultimate, the unthinkable blasphemy.
Well, Davidson did this at his trial. He called himself God.
The ultimate blasphemy. He had to die. We had no alternative.
If you will forgive me, Your Grace, if he was what he said he was, the Messiah, then he had no alternative, had he? I mean, you just asked him to declare himself. And that's what he did, surely.
If he had actually been Messiah, do you think for one moment we would have put him on trial for his life?
Unlikely, I agree.
Unlikely! Quite unthinkable! When Messiah comes, he will be clothed with majesty and with power. The whole earth will bow to his will, and his glory will encompass mankind. His rising shall be as the sun at noon, and none shall be able to withstand him. The canopy of heaven shall be his cloak. The islands will rejoice at his coming, and the little hills clap their hands for joy. And the man we executed for blasphemy and treason, poor, a Nazarene and a drunkard. Where were his legions of angels, his heavenly host? He strutted amongst the riffraff, vagabonds, malcontents, the dregs of the nation. His words were words of folly, not of wisdom. And his end, like his beginning, was without dignity. That is not my Messiah.
Caterpillar and the butterfly.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Tennel.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just thinking aloud.
Indeed. About butterflies.
I'm sure you know the story, Your Grace, of the king who disguises himself as a commoner and moves unrecognised amongst the people. Suppose there is a God who decided to do just that. Theology is not my subject, of course.
I'm glad to hear you confess it, Mr. Tennel.
Suppose God cares about us. Really cares, I mean, enough to become one of us. To be born, to share in the life we know. The tears, the pain, the disappointment. To put on one side his glory. And to suffer along with his own people. And in the end, to die.
I must protest. Even as an excursion into fantasy, this is quite preposterous.
To be executed and buried in a tomb. And then to break through all this, back again into life. To show himself then in his true colours. Isn't that where all your images fit in, Your Grace? All the power, all the glory. Your Messiah is impressive, Your Grace, but I think I would welcome this God who emerges from the chrysalis of human frailty more gratefully than your king who comes to impose his will upon us all.
An interesting little daydream, Mr. Tennel.
Is it a daydream, Your Grace? Or has it perhaps, since yesterday morning, become a reality? I know. But the evidence we have heard of the resurrection of Davidson has left a strong impression.
I won't ask the name of your informant, but I would hazard a guess. Tell me, what sort of religious leader finds so prominent a place for this Magdala? Sensual, brazen creature with the most unsavoury...
We found her quite charming, actually.
I find it disappointing that professional people of supposed intelligence and experience should choose to take the word of an exotic dancer over the considered and, I may say, expert opinion of Lord Pilate and myself. The political and religious implications of what she claims to have seen are, of course, quite incalculable.
With the greatest respect, if in fact there has been a resurrection, I doubt if either you or even Lord Pilate can find a category into which such an event can be fitted.
What you were saying, Mr. Tennel, and you were perfectly correct, is that it is an impossibility.
That, or a miracle.
So, how was the High Priest?
Cold, aloof.
I had to call him Your Grace, but I didn't see an ounce of grace in him.
He's a highly respectable man of great moral integrity.
He's a 22-carat git.
That too. They often go together. Anyway, this doesn't solve our problems. Do we have enough to run the story?
No. Time, deadlines. It's no good, Nickie. We need another 24 hours. Could use some of your highly respectable gits on Davidson's side.
I didn't know you cared.
Not me. Our viewers. Look, if the Magdala was happily married with 3 kids and a husband working in the back, we might have a sporting chance. As it is, I'll not believe a word she says.
And Caiaphas? What do you think they'll make of him?
Well, they'll hate his guts. Swallow every cursed lie he utters. If Caiaphas says the Magdala's a naughty girl and Davidson's a dead heretic, that's what they'll believe.
They could do worse. Look, I don't like him any more than you do, Cass, but you have to admit, his view is perfectly rational.
Rational it may be, but it's all lies. Whatever happened at that tomb yesterday morning, one thing's for sure. There wasn't a grave robber within 100 miles of it.
Perhaps not, but it's a nice, neat answer. No loose ends, no hocus pocus. It may not be strictly accurate, but at least it makes sense.
Meaning a resurrection doesn't?
Well, does it?
You still think I'm wrong?
I think you've gone overboard on this resurrection theory. It's no longer a piece of straight reporting to you. It's a case you've got to win.
Do you think I've gone overboard, Rosa? Without a life jacket?
Well, this resurrection story does take some swallowing. But if it's a choice you want between Pilate and Caiaphas on one hand and Zacchaeus and the Magdala on the other, I trust Zacchaeus and the Magdala all day long.
Objectively, though, you both have to admit you have nothing like enough evidence.
How much evidence is enough when we're dealing with matters of faith?
The problem is that you've let yourselves get involved. I warned you about that. You, Cass, of all people, should know. You should be making a cool, calm assessment, but you're not doing that anymore. All for the sake of a pretty girl with a good story.
Oh, be fair. There are other witnesses in this. There's Zacchaeus giving it all away, Sanballat and his tight-lipped honour of the Regiment Act. What about Nicodemus and Pilate dithering about? Or Thomas Didymus breaking his heart?
Quiet. And now that cold-hearted Caiaphas squirming his way out of a tight corner. But it all adds up to something. You cannot get away from that.
Who's trying to get away from anything? All I'm saying is you can't state categorically that there's been a resurrection. Not on the evidence that you've collected.
Who needs evidence? We're not a court of law, even if we often think we are.
But this man Davidson's opened up a lot of doors and letting light on a new sort of world. What if I've happened to take a glimpse around one of the edge of these doorways myself? There's a heck of a lot of people racing around frantically trying to close them all again.
And who are you, Cass Tennel, to hold the door against them? These are powerful people that you are aggravating.
I can try at least to ask the right questions. Is Davidson alive as Magda believes? If so, what the heck does it all mean?
And what will people all over the empire think when we tell them that God was executed last Friday in Jerusalem, but that he has conquered death?
What sort of a God, for goodness sake? No legions, no weapons, no invasion. Is he supposed to build his kingdom on love, liberty and peace?
Okay, Cass. You win. You win. But just don't expect me to be enthusiastic about it. I've known you far too long to relish the prospect of watching you commit professional suicide.
I still think the Magdala saw him.
Then you go on thinking that, Rosa. But let's just play it safe, shall we? Let's just let the readers read both sides and make up their own minds.
What do you think, Nickie? Not as my boss, as a friend. What do you really think?
Well, here's one to help her cause. A man called Cleopas has contacted the office.
Cleopas?
Claims to have seen Davidson since the execution. Met him on a bus of all places. Info says he's educated and a little bit boring.
Educated and boring is exactly what we need.
A respectable eyewitness. Perfect.
Get your things.
You just tell your story. I'll keep the conversation rolling with some questions. You'll quickly forget there's a camera there. This is our camera operator, Elsa.
Pleased to meet you, Elsa.
Pleasure's all mine. Now don't you worry about a thing, just put on your boots. Good job.
I understand that you've actually seen Joshua Davidson yesterday morning. Is that right?
Yes, quite true.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday afternoon and again last night.
Would you like to tell us about it?
Yes, of course. We were on the 4 o'clock bus, my brother-in-law and I. We'd been in town for the festival, you see. We'd planned to go back home to Emmaus yesterday morning, but we hung on just in case there was any more news.
News about the resurrection?
That's right. It wasn't too full on the bus, so we settled ourselves down on the back seat, started going over it all again, for the 99th time. I'm afraid we didn't get any nearer to making sense of it all. But then about a mile or so from the city, this man got on and sat down on the back seat with us.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing, you see, we didn't recognise him. We'd been his followers for almost 2 years. Heard him speak whenever we could, talked to him Lord knows how many times. But on that bus yesterday afternoon, he might as well have been a complete stranger to us. Of course, we talked to him about the execution and the reports of yesterday's resurrection.
And what did he say?
My word, Mr. Tennel. What didn't he say? He started right back in the time of Moses. Worked his way through all the prophets. Isaiah, Amos, all the classical quotations. He had it all at his fingertips. Marvellous exposition. Even though I'd heard the story of the Messiah practically since my first day at school.
Just a moment. He was talking to you about Messiah. When you say that, do you in fact mean God?
Well, yes, I suppose you could say that. Some scholars would argue. Perhaps Son of God would be a better term. But as far as I can see, it amounts to the same thing. Anyway, as I was saying, I'd heard the story of the Messiah practically since my first day at school, but you made it seem suddenly very clear. Sort of, well, inevitable. Especially the resurrection.
I would like to be quite clear about this, Mr. Clear. Are you saying that a resurrection is an integral part of the Messiah narrative?
It's key to it. The climax, the final crucial piece that links all the rest of it together. The Messiah comes, but no one recognises him. No one wants him. Not at all what we expect. So, instead of crowning him king, we get rid of him. We don't recognise the greatness of what he is. So we try to get rid of him. Well, or try to. The Messiah is the conqueror of death. And on the third day, he comes back to establish his kingdom.
But if the Messiah is the conqueror, how can he die?
Well, unless he confronts death face to face, how can he hope to conquer? That's what he made clear to some of us. If the Messiah is to rescue all men, he must share in the fact of our death. He must die, as all men die. Look, we cannot share the life of his kingdom unless he first shares in our death.
But if he was the Messiah, why did he need to die? Surely he could have used his power to avoid death in the end.
Well, yes, I suppose he could have. I suppose he could have arranged a last-minute rescue for himself on Friday afternoon. But that wouldn't have helped us. When it came to our turn to die, the fact the Messiah arranged another last-minute rescue for himself on Friday afternoon wouldn't have helped us at all now, would it? Look, you don't conquer death by avoiding it. You conquer it by breaking through it, by breaking through to life on the other side. Because of what he's done, we don't need to be afraid of death anymore.
And while he was explaining all of this, you still didn't recognise him?
Not till we got back to Emmaus. My brother-in-law persuaded him to come back home and have supper with us. We were sitting around the table ready to begin when my brother-in-law invited him as guest to say grace. It's a custom among ourselves, you know. Anyway, he picked up the bread, lifted it and broke it. And in that moment when we looked at him, we knew who he was.
Joshua Davidson.
Yes, the Messiah, Yeshua, the son of David. He was dead and he's alive again.
You're quite sure of that?
Positive.
A trick of the light, perhaps? Similar intonation in the voice. Psychological reflex at the end of a tiring weekend?
Look, you can call it what you like, but I know it was him. We sat there right next to him, as close as you are to me now, and I watched him break that bread. And it was him, Yeshua. No two ways about it. It was him.
Then what?
He disappeared, vanished. One moment he was offering us the bread, next he was gone. Talk about panic stations. We rushed out the house, jumped into a taxi, and fairly tore back here. We just made it through the gates before curfew, got to the house, paid the driver off, and ran up the stairs two at a time to tell the others.
What did they say?
Oh, it was a proper bombshell, I can tell you. They were sitting around having supper when we burst in like a hurricane and told them we'd seen them.
They were surprised at your news?
Well, yes, I suppose some were. Some weren't so sure. But it didn't matter. Because while we were still telling them, he came in himself.
Davidson.
The door was locked. And he came. Straight through the wall.
Like a ghost?
Ghost? No, that's what they thought. They were scared with us.
That's understandable.
He understood too. He held out his hands and told us to touch him. Ghosts don't have flesh and blood and bones, he said. Touch me. Make sure it's really me.
Did that convince them?
Pretty well. Especially Thomas.
Thomas? As in Didymus?
I guess he got his proof after all.
Meanwhile, Joshua looked at the remains of the supper on the table. Give me some of that fish, he said. Someone handed him a plate and a fork, and he just stood and ate. Slowly. As though he was enjoying it.
Incredible.
So don't talk to me about ghosts. Ghosts don't stand around eating supper.
True. On the other hand, ordinary people don't just disappear and appear through the wall, do they?
Not ordinary living people. Not people like you and me. This is God. He's not tied down in time and space like us. He's free. Way out there on the other side of death. The king in the glory of his kingdom. You can't expect him to just be ordinary.
I suppose not.
I mean, it stands to reason. He wouldn't be God if he was like us now, would he?
I suppose not.
Look at me, Mr. King. I've heard him speak. And I've seen him eat. And I know it's him. Absolutely. I can state it categorically. The Messiah is risen from the dead. He's alive.
Mr. Cleves, the authorities are taking a very serious view of this. The Sanhedrin threatened to excommunicate anyone who supports the resurrection narrative. You've seen the patrol from the city. You know about the curfew. Aren't you just a little concerned about what might happen to you as a result of telling your story?
Well, yes. In a way, I suppose I am. I mean, I've never really been one for sticking out the neck before. But now, it doesn't matter anymore. Death isn't the end. Lord Joshua made that clear to us. Death it's not the end, it's only the beginning. He's alive. And because he's alive, I'm alive. Really alive. For the very first time. You know what? This goes for you too as well, and everybody else. It's like being born again. That's what it is. It's being born again.
Has Joshua Davidson come back from the dead? Was he just a religious fanatic dabbling in politics? Or is he what his followers firmly believe him to be? God in the flesh. The official view is that it is simply a dangerous rumour put about by a group of disillusioned men who stole his body in a last desperate attempt to vindicate their leader. But an increasing number of ordinary men and women are convinced, beyond threat or argument, that he is alive.
This is it, Cass. Patros is here.
He's here.
In person.
Push yourselves. You'll be in for a top level roasting.
Nickie! Cass? Rosa? Well, I suppose you've been awfully pleased with yourselves, eh?
Could have been worse.
Worse, you say? Oh. Yeah, it's going! Oh, it was a darn good story, my son. But tell me, Cass, tell me, what private little version of eternity do you inhabit? Way out there beyond the reaches of a clock? Do you know how much you overran with today's little effort?
Not really, no.
Not really, no? Well, let's have a think, shall we? Only by 8 minutes and 40 seconds.
That much, huh? Sorry about that, Drew.
Don't apologise. The viewing figures were fantastic. Superbly researched too, young single lady.
Thanks, boss. You don't think it was too subjective?
Not at all. Great stuff, Cass. One of your best. Don't believe a word of it, of course, right enough.
You don't think Davidson's alive then?
No, I do believe my son. Just like I believe pigs can fly. Pigs can fly.
Seriously, Drew. Surely you thought Mary Magdalene was in. What about our friend Cleopas?
The stripper, you mean? Very nice she was too. I don't know where you find them, Cass. Really, I don't. And Mr. Clean-faced commuter at the end. Clever piece of casting that was. That's the real Tennel touch.
The genuine people, they believe it. They believe he's alive again.
Well, good luck to them. But don't expect me to. Just some quality advertiser attracting viewing figures. You sound a bit strung up, Cass. I tell you what, take a couple of days off. No, make it a week. Fly on up to Lebanon, enjoy yourself for a change, swill all that nonsense out of your head. That goes for you too, Rosa.
Cheers, boss.
We're glad you liked it, Drew. We had our moments, but thought it worth the risks. Any adverse reactions from the discerning viewing public?
Well, there's some positive feedback on the old tweeter, but there were 4 phone calls.
What did they say?
There was a priest and a couple of old ladies complaining about the footage in the strip club. I thought it was quite tastefully shot myself.
Difficult to get a tasteful angle in a place like that.
And the 4th phone call?
Somebody asking for the address of the strip club.
Do you think there'll be any other trouble after tonight, I mean? Do you think there'll be any trouble with...
Not a chance, Nickie. Maybe the odd crank, you know, but, I mean, come on. Nobody in the right mind's going to take seriously the story about a dead man walking the streets of Jerusalem, are they?
I thought you felt the story was dynamite.
Dynamite could have been, politically speaking, but Cass handled it beautifully and left the politics dead as a dodo. Could have been as dull as dishwater without this guy handling it. Listen, I'm serious about getting these two some time off, you know? We've got to take care of the company assets, know what I mean? Grace! Woo!
Smug so-and-so. He wasn't supposed to like it, he was supposed to believe it.
Come on, not our Drew. Put Davidson in front of him with a label around his neck, a set of fingerprints to prove it, and you still wouldn't convince Patros.
Or our great discerning viewers, listening to this revolutionising message, absent-mindedly letting it wash over their heads as they shove more junk food in their mouth and reach for the remote to turn to a more entertaining show.
A shade exaggerated, but you've got the right idea.
Why? What's the matter with them?
They don't want to believe it, Cass, any more than you do.
That's not true.
Isn't it? Because you know as well as I do that if you believe in it, it's got far-reaching consequences for all our lives.
Let's call it a day. I've had enough of it. Who fancies a drink? I'm buying. We can't change the world, you know.
I think Joshua Davidson already has.
Come off it, Rosa. You don't change the great, the greedy, frightened public with a handful of wise sayings, a season of compassion, and a miracle or two.
Even if your miracle's a dead man coming back to life?
Not even then. Especially not then. We're not ready for it. Maybe one day when we're a little more intelligent, a little more afraid of ourselves, or think the world's about to end. But not yet. Not now. Don't you agree?
We'll see.
So, what are you going to do with your freshly appointed time off? What was that?
I thought I might head up to Galilee.
Catch some rays lakeside?
I was thinking more like a fishing trip.
Yeah, maybe catch up on a few acquaintances and make some new friends. Mind if I join you?
I hoped you would.
Don't think I don't know what you two are up to. Trying to track down some once dead, newly resurrected spiritual freak. Don't go all religious on me now, will you?
Oh, I wouldn't dream of it, Nickie.